Hey, what's up guys? Justin from Out of the Basement here, and today I have a little bit of a different video for you guys. I thought this would be really fun. If you are familiar with the YouTube channel Lukeness Monster, they are a very similar channel to ours as far as what we cover, you know, Black Series news, reveals, announcements, rumors, wish lists, other topic videos. And every year they do this March Madness style bracket for a Black Series, you know, fan vote wish list showdown. And I thought it would be really fun to kind of go through the entire thing because it just ended the other day, and just go through and sort of analyze and give my take on what's going on and show you what I voted for. And I would love you guys to, you know, sound off in the comments down below what you guys think as well. Before we get into the meat and potatoes, I don't want anyone thinking I am making digs at Lukeness Monster. We actually love Lukeness Monster. We've had him on the channel multiple times. We have met them in real life at ICCCon. He's a great guy. We are subscribed to his channel. We like his content. So the beef is not with Lukeness Monster. If anything, the beef is going to be the people voting in these polls, because some of these results are kind of wacky to me. So if I, you know, talk in a negative light about anything, it's more so the audience and the people voting in these polls. However, this is all in good fun. Everyone has their own preferences. Everyone should just vote for what you want to see in the line. I am not hating on any of you guys. We all have our preferences. But on a personal level, I think the Clone Trooper obsession gets taken a little too far in the Black Series community. It's just hard not to get frustrated when you see so many people voting for a literal lower effort, lower cost, cheaper repaint over a newly tooled, unique character that would need a new mold, plenty of detail, a desperately needed character never before done in the line, and it's like losing to a clone. So in those instances, I do just get a little annoyed and frustrated. So I do think the Clone Trooper obsession is just taken a little too far. If the Clone Trooper mega fans had their way, I do think it would ultimately lead to a detriment, you know, to the line. So with all that being said, let's just jump into it. This is all in good fun. Here is the opening logo, and here is the bracket. It's probably too small to see. So we're just going to fast forward here to the first round. And yeah, the 29th was the winner. So literally yesterday, I'm recording this on March 30th. So right off the bat, we have a new Jedi, a never before done character, leading to Captain Rex Phase 1. Phase 1 Rex, definitely understandable, huge iconic Clone Wars character. So it's not surprising at all, but you know, if I had to choose, I'm going Eth Koth. Before we jump any further into the votes and the polls and everything, I do just want to specify how I vote. I vote as if I'm choosing one or the other. I am choosing under the assumption that this figure is getting made and the other one isn't. So I do tend to prioritize characters that we have yet to get in the line. So if it's just a different look for a character like Rex here, we had Rex before, so I'm going to vote for the character that we don't have in the 6-inch scale. And of course, you guys know me, I do tend to prioritize OT, then prequel era, then Clone Wars, you know, then Rebels, then the Disney era stuff, whether that be Mando, Book of Boba Fett, sequel trilogy. That's kind of at the bottom of my priorities. However, there are exceptions where I just break the rule because vibes. Glad to see Commando Droid beating out Imperial Commander Cody. Commando Droid was probably my number one on this whole thing because it is probably, now that we have the Super Battle Droid and Droideka, probably the number one most needed like CIS, you know, prequel era representation in the line. So had to go Commando Droid all day. I know some of the old heads are going to get mad at me with this one, but I did choose Gar Saxon over Dash Rendar. I have no attachment to a lot of the EU legends. Already going against my principles, I had to pick Savage Opress over Watto, although honestly, I would love a Watto. Commander Bakara, because it's a prequel film character. I know I just was kind of sounding like I'm hating on clones, but in actuality, I do buy every single clone trooper that comes out. I love clones, and I will buy every clone that Hasbro puts out. So don't get me wrong, I am a big clone fan. And in this instance, I did go Bakara over the Super Commando. We're actually getting the Super Commando in the Black Series. Had to go Dirge. Got a 2D Clone Wars, enough said, right? Okay, now this is a frustrating one to see. Basically a Commander Fox repaint versus Lord Starkiller, and Lord Starkiller looks like it would be pretty new, pretty badass, pretty awesome. I'm definitely choosing Starkiller over a Clone Trooper repaint. Honestly, kind of sad to see that this was split 50-50. Shaak Ti over Chief Tarful. They're both Revenge of the Sith, you know, prequel film characters, so I'll take them both, but gotta go with the Jedi. Sticking to my principles, Captain Panaka, we're holding out strong at 21%. I think Panaka would just go great with that new Padme Amidala that just came out from Phantom Menace. Had to go Cloud City Leia. Another loss here for Out of the Basement, but it's one of the last looks of Princess Leia that we need, so OT, had to go with her. Agent Callus over Carson Teva for sure. Love Rebels. Sticking to my principles again, Nine Numb. It's one of the last like OT secondary characters that we need for sure. There's still a lot more background characters, but I would consider Nine and something like Lobot, you know, a secondary character in the OT. Gonna go with Nine. This one might surprise you a little bit. Imperial Gunner is in my like top 3 most wanted Black Series. It's one of the last Imperials that we need, so if I was forced into choosing, I'd have to go with Imperial Gunner, even though I'd love Embo. Queen Amidala is just iconic. Desperately needed Phantom Menace prequel film character. This is probably the one time I voted for Captain Hauser, just because Rise of Skywalker is such a terrible film, and I actually do like the Bad Batch quite a bit, so I went Hauser. Luminara Unduli, generally speaking, I'm gonna go prequel Jedi over, even though I love Rebels, but we've had Kanan in the line before, so I have to go with the character that we don't have before. Another L. Lobot Gang, rise up, 18% going strong. Pong Krell would be such an awesome figure, but I need to finish out those secondary OT characters. Holding out strong at 18%. Let's go. Sound off in the comments if you voted Lobot. Night Sister Marin. I love Jedi Fallen Order. I don't love the sequel trilogy. Easy pick. 212th Airborne. Clone Trooper. Revenge of the Sith clones are so cool looking. I would love for Hasbro to finish out the Revenge of the Sith clones. We actually have the Shadow Trooper released in the Black Series, even though it's like a 2014-ish release. So I'm going 212th Airborne because it's a design we didn't get before, and the prequel clones are just so BA. OOM-9, aka the Droid Commander, had to go with my little yellow dot boy. I do like when Lukeness Monster chooses to pit the clones against each other, because at least it knocks out a clone from the bracket. You know, it's a guarantee. We're not going to get rid of, you know, something like my boy Max Rebo on a poll like this, but went with the 41st Elite Scout. Revenge of the Sith, my favorite prequel live action clone, prefer it. My logic on choosing Vaughn over Gregor here is because I really do not like that commando body that Hasbro uses, so I just went with Vaughn out of principle. Commander Neo, here I go. I'm going full cloner mode. I know Terran Malicos would be an awesome figure, but again, it's hard to say no to a prequel film character. Speaking of saying no to a prequel film character, I went with our boy Kyle Katarn over the Galactic Marine. Okay, this one's a little rough to see. Had to go with our girl Ula, sitting at 39%. I know both of these characters have such small amount of screen time, but Ula is iconic. Had to go with something from the Jabba's Palace sequence. Ninth Sister over Barriss Offee, because we would need Luminara Unduli before Barriss. I would not want Barriss without Luminara, so I went with Ninth Sister. Ninth Sister would also be such a big, bulky, badass figure. My boy, my boy, my boy, my boy. Max Rebo sitting strong at 69%, right where he belongs. Went with Zam on this one, Attack of the Clones live action prequel character. I think Zam would just have such a great shelf presence and really flesh out that Attack of the Clones display. Mother Talzin over yet another Maul, pretty common sense pick. Here I go, voting for more clones again. Clone Kicks over Vader, just because we've had so many Vaders, and Hasbro has actually never done a Phase 2 named clone that is just in the grunt armor. I do not count Commander Oppo because that's obviously just a 501st Army builder. I'm talking like the 501st guys with like specific markings and they are actual characters. So I went with Kicks. Slave Leia over Jedi Trials Anakin, and I love the comments on this one. Look at all of these guys crying. That Clone Wars generation, man. We beat them out this time. And this is the last poll of round 1. Went with the blue ARC Trooper over Clone Hardcase just because we have the red ARC Trooper from Clone Wars. So now let's go up to start round 2. Gar Saxon over Mother Talzin. Gar Saxon just has some of the coolest Mandalorian armor in existence, so I went with Gar. Phase 1 Rex is definitely more iconic than Clone Trooper Kicks. This kind of goes against my principles though, but I told you that I break my rules sometimes because vibes, so here it is. Had to go with Savage Opress over Lord Starkiller. Savage is like probably in my top 5. He's definitely the #1 most needed from Clone Wars, so this was a pretty easy pick. Commando Droid, again, this is in my top 5. Very easy pick. Commander Bakara over Commander Gray. Again, prequel film character. Dirge from the 2D Clone Wars. I mean, come on. Come on. Shaak Ti, prequel character. Ooh, 66%. Palpatine is probably a big fan of that poll. Now this one, again, look at these comments. I love these comments. Look at that. What is going on? You gotta be kidding me. Jaro Tapal, Jedi, prequel film character, 41st Elite Corps. I see Camouflage Clone Trooper. My brain just shuts off. And here is when my boy got eliminated initially. He's been eliminated twice, and I'll explain a little bit further, but I had to go with Max. Luminara, because prequel Jedi, losing to a clone, cause clone. Embo is such a cool bounty hunter from the Clone Wars. I'd much rather have Embo. The Phantom Menace is just iconic. It's just iconic, and specifically this look for Amidala, we need her. This one really surprised me in a negative way. I would much rather have Commander Neo than Captain Hauser. I mean, prequel film character. Captain Hauser might be the one that sort of pisses me off the most throughout this poll. 212th Airborne, desperately needed. Pretty easy choice. A lot of other people chose it as well. 84% versus the Droid Commander at 16%. Now we're into round 3. Had to go with Gar Saxon over the 41st Elite Corps. Again, it's hard to say no to a prequel film character, but Gar is just so cool looking. Now this is where I had to draw the line with the Slave Leia new mold love. Had to go Savage. Pong Krell. A new species, a new character, a unique sculpt, a new mold, a desperately needed Clone Wars figure. Lost to a clone trooper with a different helmet of a character that we've had before. Commando. Oh my god, this round. Commando Droid, a new sculpt. A desperately needed character design. A new mold. Lost to a clone trooper. That clone trooper looks cool, I'll admit, but come on. Come on. Ooh, Embo. No. This is where the cloner brain rot takes over. And I'm just like, guys, like, come on now. Come on. Thank goodness Shaak Ti beat out the 212th. Because I was about to lose it there for a second, but luckily our girl Shaak Ti pulled the dub. Dirge, very popular vote. Very, very popular. Jaro Tapal would be so good, but, you know, it's sad to see him go, but Dirge is equally badass. Well, guys, it's over. I'll see you later. Jumping into round 4, I had to go with my gut. Gar Saxon is just the coolest Mandalorian. Savage, Another easy choice. One of the most desperately needed characters in the line. And the Phase 1 Rex thing is, again, taken a bit too far. I think Commander Bakara would be much better than Phase 1 Rex because Kiadi Mundi is coming to the line. I get that Rex is like one of the most expensive figures on the aftermarket, and it would be cool to get his Phase 1 look, but Bakara is a character that we don't have, so by principle, gotta go with Bakara. Rest in peace. That was a close one. 51% versus 49%. Shakti over Mid-Hauser all day. Now only 4 remain. Look at that. We have come so far. We are in the semifinals. Gar Saxon was put up against Savage Opress. This was a very easy choice for me to make. Same thing with Shakti. This was an easy choice. I'm going to choose the prequel Jedi over a clone every single time. The final round came down to Savage Opress versus Shakti, and even though some of these poll results were a little frustrating, and I think the community, you know, if they had their way with all the clones, I think eventually it would become a detriment to the line. However, I am satisfied with the final 2 here, Savage Opress and Shakti. I'm perfectly satisfied with those final 2. I mean, some of those years like ARC Trooper 5s was winning, you know, which is a literal Clone Trooper repaint. So we've definitely stepped up our game on the Lukeness Monster polls this year. Thank goodness. But I went Savage Opress just because it's my #1 thing I want from Clone Wars. And Shakti isn't my #1 thing I want from prequel film. So both would be amazing to have, but I went with Savage, and here we have Savage Opress, the most wanted TBS figure. So there we have it. Savage is #1. He's the winner, and honestly, I'm satisfied with that. It makes perfect sense. When I think, you know, fan vote winner, Savage is up there. So this is a pretty nice W. We do know that Mr. Stevie, who is now on the Hasbro Star Wars team, is aware of this poll. I remember he put it on his Instagram story. So Hasbro does have their eyes on stuff like this. They do have their eyes on these fan votes and these polls that we put together. Again, I really don't want you guys to get the impression that if you like clones, that means I'm hating on you. I'm not. This is all in good fun. We all have our preferences. If you want to buy just clones and have just clones in your collection, do it. I think you should have the right to do it, and that's perfectly fine. Over at Out of the Basement, it's no secret that we skew more towards original trilogy, so honestly, I would be kind of interested to see if we could do something similar. You know, would our results be similar? Or do you think our demographic, our audience is different? Do you think our audience would skew more towards OT? Let me know in the comments down below if we should do something like this. I would not want to just copy Lukeness and just do a one-to-one copy of this, but if we could do some sort of elimination fan poll idea, it'd be kind of cool to see how the Out of the Basement's results would be. Big shout out to Lukeness Monster for doing this poll in the first place. It's not easy. It does take a lot of work putting the bracket together, getting all the graphics and images, and scheduling all the community posts to go up when they're supposed to go up. So good job, man. Keep doing you. Love your content, and thanks for putting these polls together. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hit like, subscribe if you are new. We are always talking about the Black Series here on the channel. If you are in a position to help support the channel, we do offer a couple of channel membership tiers. There's a link to that in the description down below, along with the Discord and everything else. My name's Justin from Out of the Basement, and we will see you guys next time.